All right. I think I'm live. Hey, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. This has been a great time. I'm going to just kind of get started here so that any newbies that are joining in can kind of get settled before I jump into this. But yeah, I've got to say, I've had an awesome time here in San Francisco. The conference has been incredible. It's been awesome to see everybody here. And yeah, so I'm just gonna talk a little bit about what I've been doing. I did this last night, and I figured it was I'd give another quick little update. And man, I don't know. It's just been such an awesome time here. I mean, it helps that everybody was euphoric with the crazy, rise in price. I know we're seeing corrections now, although like not that bad, really. Like I know there was a big dump earlier, but it's still like 12.7 something. And I mean, it went up as high as like 13.8, which is insane. Like this year has been ridiculous. I don't think I definitely didn't expect it to be bumping back up this quickly, this early after the last kind of bear drop. But yeah, the timing couldn't have been better. Everybody at the conference was having such a good time, and yeah, there are no poo street stories. Sorry for those in the chat asking about the poo. I have not seen it, but there are a plethora of unique smells in the streets of San Francisco. Luckily, I've avoided much of that. I just showed my view. Like, this is, the city looks very nice from afar. Yeah, so really, really cool to be here. But yeah. So, anyways, I'm gonna do some show and tell because I got all swagged out with everything that I got here. First off, Bitcoin Magazine is a physical copy once again, which is super awesome. So I'm stoked. I've been flipping through it a little bit. I haven't had time to read like everything in it, but I got to show you one thing. Bull Bitcoin did a full page ad that looks like in something you'd slap on a light post for like an underground concert. It's very, very cypherpunk looking, I would say. But yeah, anyway, so we got a full page in Bitcoin Magazine. How cool is that? So yeah, I'm stoked about that. I picked up a ton of stuff. Yo, they had Ledger Nano S's for $15. And not only that, you could get them. So if you went to a bunch of the booths, they were giving away these little like tickets. And yesterday, day one, if you had 3 of these tickets just from going up and like visiting the booths and chatting with the people there, 3 tickets would get you a Ledger Nano S. It was insane. And so they had a big rush on it. And then they're like, there was sizable inflation from day 1 to day 2 on the tickets. The fiat ticket system experienced hyperinflation, so it went from 3 tickets to 10 tickets the next day. But yeah, I friggin' bought 5. Like $15. Are you kidding me? So yeah, I'm gonna bring those back for some workshops and stuff. I also shout out to a guy on Twitter by the name of the Bitcoin Rabbi, because I got his book for my kid, although she's younger and so she won't appreciate it yet, but it's going to be bedtime stories that she hears. So I'm going to be reading through this. It's pretty solid. It's great. So shout out to the Bitcoin Rabbi for that. Well worth the purchase there. I also got Inventing Bitcoin, which is just kind of like an overview of how Bitcoin works and what it is. Not that I don't understand what Bitcoin is, but from what I hear, it is a great kind of overview of exactly what I said. What is Bitcoin? How does it work? And yeah, so I'm excited to dive into that. And then something that was really cool that I just saw for the first time, somebody wrote a fiction book called Satoshi's Fortune. So it's like So like just a quick thing on the bag. It's Satoshi Nakamoto has vanished, and with him the keys to the greatest fortune of the 21st century. And it's just like searching for Satoshi, like again, just like a fiction novel. I'm super stoked to read it. So I'm looking forward actually to the plethora of Bitcoin fiction that I think will come out in the coming years. So super excited about that. I of course had to get a Bitcoin 2019 T-shirt, which like had all the speakers and everything on it. People were doing fun things, like they were passing around Venezuelan bolivars, which is cool. I think I want to like frame this or something just to as a reminder. Somebody actually went and made Zuck bucks. So like poking fun at poking fun at Libra, the Facebook coin. So this is called, they're called Zuck bucks. On the back it says trust us. And it's got like fingerprint scanners and everything, like surveillance state. It's pretty hilarious. Yeah, and oh god, there's just so much, and I had such a good time. But yeah, it definitely loaded up on swag. So Edward Snowden was keynote speaker this morning, and that was really really cool. I definitely value what he did and kind of the sacrifice he made in essentially just having to leave and at least letting people know what was happening behind the scenes, and dropping that bomb that essentially like every American citizen, and I mean the world, was just being spied on, with really no oversight. And so the talk that he gave, the fireside chat, was very much just focused on kind of like privacy and how it's not a dirty word. It shouldn't be a dirty word. Privacy should be the default. It should be standard. And he just talked about if we get complacent, the road that we go down could be a scary and dangerous one. And it was a great talk. I mean, clearly he's done this many times over, but it was great to hear. And near the end, they asked him, so does Edward Snowden have any Bitcoin? And of course, his response, given I'm a privacy advocate, I'm not going to disclose that. But he did say, and this was like the best kind of mic drop moment of the talk, was so he had to purchase servers to host in order to drop all of the information that he had. And the servers that he had to purchase, he could only purchase with Bitcoin. And that got a pretty good response out of the audience. So really, really cool to see. There's also another great talk hosted, I believe, moderated by Aaron Van Weerdum, but on stage was Eric Lombroso and Eric Voorhees, two sides of the Segway 2X civil war. And essentially the talk was kind of like the fallout and what we've learned from the Segway 2X debacle and what happened, and the split with Bitcoin Cash and all of that. And it was very interesting. It was a very civil conversation. You could tell that Eric Voorhees was, so he didn't come out and say like I'm sorry in that sense, but he clearly said that more or less, and I believe him, that everybody involved was doing what they thought was in the best interest of the community, even though I don't believe it clearly it wasn't in the best interest. But I think that people wanted to move stuff forward, and then they realized, as soon as they realized that there was clearly no consensus around the second half of Segway 2X, where people were pushing back so heavily, and it was going to result in an actual chain split, because they said the 2X portion of it was supposed to just be like, there wasn't supposed to be a split. There wasn't supposed to be two coins, and it was becoming clear that that would have been the case had they gone through with it. And luckily they backed out 24 hours prior. And so, yeah, it's become abundantly clear that I mean, especially for myself looking at it, that a handful of companies cannot dictate the direction that Bitcoin goes. And now for me to see that happen and play out, and a lot of people that were in the space at the time were too new to really understand even what was happening, if they even knew that was happening in the first place. But for me, that was the moment where in my head I was kind of like, I mean, you can't fuck with Bitcoin. Like it's going to be increasingly difficult to mess with this and try to co-opt it. And to see the fact that industry leaders and like the biggest companies in the space and the people with the most influence wanted to do something, and essentially Bitcoin users were like, no, we're not doing it. And the markets dictated that it would fail, and it did. So that for me was eye-opening and further entrenched me into believing that this was something to get behind. And it was super refreshing to see that. And it's cool to see the post-mortem after the fact and see these guys that were on two opposite sides of the fence go back and kind of sift through the ashes of what happened and look at it objectively and just kind of calmly discuss it. It was a very interesting talk. I got to meet a ton of awesome people. I met Max Kaiser today. I met Jack Mallers, who's doing a lot of great work, like Zap, Lightning Wallet. I met Bitcoin Mom, who is Jack Mallers' mom. God, who else did I meet? Bitcoin Tina, he's big on Twitter, and man, he's like such a good motivational speaker. He did a huge talk last night at an event, and he just pumped up the crowd. The Wasabi guys are friggin' awesome. I love those guys so much. And they did a really funny talk last night too, from the perspective of chain analytics firms. And God, who else? Peter McCormick, got to meet him. In fact, I'm going to his event after this, which is called What Beer Did. So I'm excited for that. Myself and Francis Pouliot did an episode of Tales from the Crypt with Marty Bent and Matt Odell. That was super awesome. I had no idea what they looked like. So it was weird to have heard their voices in so many podcasts, which if you're not listening to Tales from the Crypt, do it. It's such a good show, and like especially the rabbit hole recap episodes they do, where they essentially go through the news of the week and break it down. So good. So give it a listen. But yeah, myself and Francis got to go on, talk about Bull Bitcoin, what we're doing, and it was a great like hour-long conversation. God, just so many people. The guys from Nodl I got to talk to, they were really, really cool. And just too much to take in. Man, I'm wiped. I am wiped from this couple of days. I don't know how I'm gonna make it through the night. Like I'm going out like now to see everybody one more time. I'm lucky that tomorrow I've got like some downtime during the day before I fly out back home, and I'm just gonna like sleep in. I don't know. I'm dead. I'm dead. It took it all out of me, but I wouldn't change it for the world. This was such an awesome time. To the guys, if you see this, the guys that organized the conference, thank you. This was an awesome time. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it was refreshing to see people focusing on what matters. I'm not saying that like every speaker on stage was perfect. There's a little bit of stuff that maybe didn't go super well on stage. The guy from Celsius, I feel like that the Celsius network, that talk kind of fell flat. Wasn't great. But yeah, and I didn't get to see Stephen Pear from BitPay up there, but I heard he got asked some hard questions about why the hell they don't have Segway, and are they looking at Lightning and stuff like that. So and those are the kind of hard questions that should be asked. But I did see James from BitPay, and I interviewed him way back in the day. And yeah, we just had a good talk, and he was genuinely asking me like, he's like, I know that you were using BitPay back in the day, and you've kind of you don't really like us anymore. And he just genuinely asked me like, what kind of courses of action could we take to be better? And I just had a frank conversation with him, which again was great. And we just kind of talked about, like, I was like, guys, add Segway, do something that surprises people, like just out of the blue, offer lightning. Um, the one thing I didn't touch on, which again I think would kind of blow some people away, is if BitPay were to come out and be like, yeah, you know what, Segway 2x was a poor idea, and we realized that. I think if people heard that, um, it would take the bitter taste out of their mouth, because that was a big deal, and a lot of people that were around for a long time took that very personally, and that's why they've gotten this pushback. And I think to not only hear somebody say that, but also then to see the action to back it up, of like, let's support, new technologies that are being built around Bitcoin, and support the community that built us up in the first place, would be a big move. So that's just kind of my perspective. Yeah, and the other fun thing, I got to meet Crypto's News, Omar. And so we had breakfast together, him and a group of us, and then he had myself and Vortex from the one Vortex on Twitter. He's got his CryptoCast network on YouTube, and he's super awesome, super knowledgeable. And Crypto's like, here's a couple mics, you guys just riff. And so he's gonna put that together, and we'll see what it shows up in. It might be a video on its own. It might be like a kind of like a clip together thing, but that'll be dropping at some point, and when it does, I'll share it out. But yeah, I think I'm going to leave that there. I guess I didn't do it yesterday, but once again, I'll give a shout out to my sponsors, the guys at LEDN. I hope you guys are seeing this and seeing the updates. But yeah, if you guys want to check out LEDN, again, you can go check out the services. I got links down below. I talk about them in all my other videos, but since this is a quick recap, I'll just kind of leave it there. And thank you guys, everybody in the chat. Good to see you guys. Glad you can catch up with me today. And I'm going to be flying home late tomorrow night, but maybe I'll try and do a recap before I head out. I don't know that there'll be much update tomorrow, because I'm just going to probably die from whatever happens tonight. But thank you guys, and I appreciate everybody watching. And I can't say enough good things about the last couple of days. So I will see you guys soon. Have a great night.